Okay, one more minute and we can kick off. Okay, so welcome everyone. As you know, we had a quite important moment for our company. We released our new branding last week during a ShopTalk conference in Vegas, and the new name is Alokai. So Vue Storefront will exist in our hearts forever, but the name itself simply had to change the same way as our product have changed over the years. So we had to make sure that our name is not that much descriptive anymore, and we just became much more to what we were when we actually started with Vue Storefront. So simply said, Vue Storefront is just much more than Vue itself and much more than a storefront. So as for Vue, as many of you are aware, we also are supporting React and Next.js. So Vue and Next is not the only frameworks that we have, but this is how we started. And this is also how the whole Vue Storefront name was created. We were doing Magento implementations where we were still working back in an agency. And when we came up with the idea of Vue Storefront, all it was supposed to be was a lead generation for the agency. So we could release an open source project, get the best companies to work with us. And we created that in Vue. It was supposed to be the storefront for Magento. So the name, we figured Vue Storefront is going to be great for positioning and to find the company name on Google. And that worked very well at the beginning, right? But when we became an independent company, we got almost $37 million of investment. We got a lot of great enterprise customers. We added so much more to our product. Then we just knew the rebranding is very much needed. And considering that we announced our React version during ShopTalk in 2023, we figured it wouldn't probably be the best to go back to ShopTalk a year after and basically stay with the same name while everyone was actually expecting that the name has to change. So Alokai itself means to conduct and to guide in the Hawaiian language, right? So how we are looking at our customers is that they are composers, right? Merchants are the composers that are building the best customer experience. You can compare it to the composer that is creating a very unique piece of the music. But they need a place to perform it. They need a team to perform the notes, right? Because merchant has an idea. They know what customer experience will be the best for their specific customers. And going back to the music, you will have composers that specialize in classical music, but you're also gonna have those that do electronic music or any other kind of music, right? So they know best who their audience is. And this is where they should be focusing on customizing the customer experience and making it very unique for the end audience. In that scenario, developers, and I know that many of you on the call today are developers, you are the musicians, right? And you are using the instruments that we provide as Alokai, APIs, integrations, documentation, code, UI components, and everything else that you need to play the music, right? And we, as Alokai, we are the conductor of the customer experience. So we want to make sure that everything has the right tempo, that everything is very nicely coordinated. We are basically making sure that everything is performing as it should, right? So our customers don't have to worry about that. We are giving them the best instruments, we are giving them our experience as a conductor, and then we provide you, developers, and everyone else to make sure you can actually perform the music while we are always there to guide you through the whole process. So on the end, we also need a place where we can actually perform, and that's the building. The building is our infrastructure. This is the environments that we deliver. It's everything from DevOps to security ops to guidance on the entry. So all the stuff that is making sure the lighting is great, the audio is great, that everyone has a very good experience getting into the room, getting out of the room, because that's how we consider the customer experience. Is not just getting to the Philharmony and listening to the music while it plays. It's also everything from the moment you go through the door and you get to your seat and until you leave. So you can consider DevOps being technicians responsible for the sound. You can consider SecOps being technicians responsible for the lighting and everything like that. So it makes a lot of sense, and we wanted to make sure it's also quite easy to understand for the business users because our product is quite technical, but on the end we deliver a lot of business value, and we wanted to make sure this is performed in the right way and it's easy to understand for the end customer. So what will change? What will change in the code, in the product, in the open source? So I'm gonna give it to Filip.
Hey, hello everyone. It's amazing to see you. As Patrick said, this is a historical moment for us. We were going through multiple changes of our logo. I think there were 3, and I'm sure there are some among us who remember the first one. It was not very beautiful, but you have to start somewhere. And it's been a very, very long journey since we started. So you're probably wondering how the things will impact you, like what is next for the company, because a new name is also a new chapter, and it's not just changing the colors, it's not just changing the name, but this is in reality a reflection of the change that happened with the company and with our product in the last few years. And right now we just want to push this message forward, and we want to accelerate in that direction. So first of all, you're probably wondering how the rebranding will impact the application. There are many references to Vue Storefront name in the code. There is also VSF acronym. So as for now, everything works as it used to work. Like we did absolutely 0 changes in the code. So you can still download the packages from exactly the same organizations. The code that you have in your application that has references to Vue Storefront name or VSF acronym, it still works. And I want to reassure you that our priority is stability. So we don't plan drastic changes. You can expect that we won't be changing every and each piece, and that the changes will be properly communicated and have proper migration guides. So the first thing that we for sure will be updating, and you can expect that within the next 1-2 months, are organizations on NPM. So we'll move from Vue Storefront organization to the Alokai organization. But when it comes to the references to the VSF name in the code, they will all keep working. We'll just have additional ones, Alokai, and you will be able to use both. Though if you'll be using the old one, it will be just throwing a gentle warning that this is no longer the name. And of course, in the documentation, we won't be referring to the old one. But your applications won't break suddenly just because we changed the name. The next probably pressing matter for many people in the stream is what would happen to our open source community, to our projects like Storefront borderplate, Storefront UI, and also open source integration. So nothing is changing in that direction. Like we are still committed to maintaining Storefront UI. We are still committed to maintaining our boilerplates. We are still working very closely with our open source integrators from integrations like Silius, Odoo, and many more. So on that matter, you can still count on us, and we are not shutting down anything like that. The truth is, like, we're still investing a lot into our open source community, and we're still investing a lot into nourishing where we're coming from, really. And I think, at least I hope, that covers most of your worries. So our commitment to open source, it remains the same. Obviously, the company has changed. We are much more enterprise focused right now. And also the way how we build software and what we build has changed a lot. But there are still libraries that we released as open source that we believe that it is super valuable for people to use and learn about Alokai. And we'll keep maintaining them and evolving them. Now, you're also probably wondering, okay, so we're no longer Vue Storefront. What does it mean for the company? Like how much it's going to change? Like how much the product is going to change? And I'm going to tell you this, like you already know, either from what Patrick just said or from our past announcements, that we are also working with React. Most of the tools that we deliver right now, they are really framework agnostic. They can even be used with mobile application frameworks like React Native. So we're no longer bounded to a single framework. We're no longer bounded to the storefront. Like our goal is really to support you for the whole operational timeline of delivering a great customer experience and just allowing you to have great ROI from your customer experience. So what does it mean? It means that we're focusing first of all on connecting all of the integrations on our orchestration layer and delivering great integrations out of the box, then giving you tools to build the storefront, then providing a great infrastructure to deploy all of that and keep it fast, keep it secure, keep it reliable, and provide analytics tools that allow you to actually analyze your application and spot things that will allow you to actually improve the experience of your users. So you can imagine that you are seeing certain types of errors, or you are seeing a certain drop in the performance. Like our Alokai console is actually a tool that is allowing you to very quickly identify those bottlenecks that are impacting your customer experience, that are impacting your revenue, and give actionable insights to catch them. So you no longer need to look at all of those metrics on your own. You no longer need to spot all of those things on your own. We're just giving you this in a proactive way. And that would be it about the product. And if you have any more questions, and if you have anything that we haven't covered yet, please write in the chat, ask us a question. We're very happy to answer those questions.
Yeah, so we're gonna start in the meantime by the questions we got before we started the Q&A session. So Filip, the first one, are you still developing a boilerplate for Vue Storefront 2 or now Alokai? I have a project work on Vue Storefront 1 and Storefront UI 1, and I want to move on to Next 3, but I don't feel I can handle this without starting a boilerplate.
Yes, you can do this very easily, and we're still maintaining boilerplate. We actually have open source boilerplate that is basically a boilerplate application that covers both middleware and a basic UI for the storefront on our GitHub. So if you Google Vue Storefront, Storefront Next 3 boilerplate, this is where you will land, and you can just copy the repo, plug in the integrations that you want to use, override the mocked data with the data from this integration, and it works.
The next question, I am trying to start with the open source, but I can't seem to find a clear path. The CLI installs Vue Storefront version 2, so that's a no-go. The Next boilerplate seems the way to go, but the current Magento integration doesn't seem to speak the same language as the boilerplate, UniFi data. So please, what is the best route to take? Should I use the boilerplate with the current Magento 2 integration and change composables? Should I use the boilerplate and try to create new Magento integration? Or should I wait for the things that are coming?
Okay, this is an excellent question. And I would say it really depends on what type of a customer you are and what is your user scenario. For the enterprise customers, we have a special product that is called UniFi Data Layer and a Unified Storefront, which is basically a fully featured B2B and B2C storefront with also a lot of additional modules with additional functionalities connected to the unified data model. But this is enterprise only, and this is for very demanding users. If your goal is just to set up a simple store, what I would recommend is just take this boilerplate. It is using a unified data, but it is using unified data as a mocked data. which means that you just have to replace with any kind of data from any kind of integration that you're going to use. It either can be Magento, Shopify, or whatever else. It is pretty flexible, and it's just a boilerplate. So I would start there, plug in the Magento integration, and replace the mock data with the actual data from your e-commerce.
The third question is, hi there, I'm new to VSF and now Alokai. I'm looking for a solution that allows me to change commerce engine in the future.
Okay, so that's a great question that is allowing me to do a shameless pitch of a cool thing that we released some time ago. I've been posting about this on LinkedIn for quite some time, and we've been also writing about that in our documentation. But if you're not aware, at the end of last year, we released UniFi data model, which is basically a complete data model of an e-commerce data that is developed by us, which means it is fully decoupled from the underlying services. Like the storefront is really unaware of what kind of services are being plugged into this, which is great because right now, when you're integrating with Vue Storefront, you're just integrating with this unified data model. Then the unified data model is integrated with the storefront. So if you want to change your e-commerce, you literally don't have to write even a single line of code on the front end. You are only changing the integration that you integrated with unified data model, and storefront works exactly as it was. And this is a great use case, for example, when you are in the process of modernizing the old technological stack. So let's say like you're on the old monolithic solution, let's say on SAP Commerce, and you want to migrate to something else, or you want to modernize what you have right now. So the best way to start is really starting with the front end. So you can decouple the front end, you can use unified data layer, and then you can replace some of the parts of your e-commerce. For example, you can change the CMS, you can change the search provider. You can do all of that without reinvesting every time you change some of the APIs to the front end, because front end is fully decoupled from the back end.
Cool.
Yeah, end of shameless pitch.
Yeah, but I think it's quite straightforward, because that's exactly one of the key values for those that are not sure. And you can start with what you are using today. And also our belief is that in the future, you might not even consider re-platform when you're gonna put much more investment into customer experience. We call it front-end first strategy. So this is where we believe customers should basically be starting, because essentially this is what's creating your conversions to go up. That what can give you a very good revenue uplift. And then if everything works well on your customer experience, your site is converting as it should, your customers are happy with the experience that they are getting, why should you go into a very long and expensive migration process? So that's actually something we want to do. But on the end, if you actually gonna decide, hey, I do want to switch my current backend engine, then you will save a lot of time. And those that did the full-on migration, that includes both backend and frontend, and then all the integrations that are connected with this, know exactly what kind of pain we are talking about here. So it's a very good approach.
Basically, like, think about that. Like, we've been pitched a great Mach architecture or great composable architecture all the time, when you can just switch elements of the stack. You have full flexibility to adapt your business to the changing needs. You have a full flexibility to actually, take the vendors that are fitting your use case best at the right time. But there was always one place that was not fitting into that story, and it was the front end. Front end was always tightly coupled with the data models and with the API workflows of the underlying platforms, which means that whenever you wanted to change something quickly, or whenever you just wanted to change something without rebuilding half of your stack again, it was just not possible, because you're rebuilding part of, or every part of your front end. So we wanted to fix that, and we wanted to build like truly composable storefront that is being plugged into the underlying services the same way as the underlying services are being plugged, for example, to the integration layer. And I think we achieved that, and it wasn't easy. We've been doing this for years. Some of you remember the first iteration of Vue Storefront. in 2017, end of 2017, which was already backend agnostic based on the Magento formats. And we were working very hard and trying a lot of options to figure out how to build this unified data model for the enterprise customers that would be flexible enough to cover all the possible use cases, easy to extend, etc. And this is something I'm super proud of, and I'm pretty sure that this is our unique value on the market, and that there's literally no one who has as much experience on those matters as we do.
Yeah, and if that's something you would like to try out, just contact us. We can do a proof of concept where we actually try those things out, and you can play around with different environments and see how it actually works in practice, because that's what we recommend to everyone. It's always beautiful when you look at the sales slides and everything is presented as a perfect world, but when you have to connect all the different systems and they actually try to migrate something from one to another, you can try this out and see how this works in practice. And I think that's very important. So another one, and I think the answer is going to be very short, but then Filip can talk a little bit about the path to upgrade. So now that Vue 2 and Next 2 are depreciated, which everyone probably is aware of, is there any idea when Vue Storefront will be upgraded to support Next 3 and Vue 3? I've been upgrading the project on my side. However, there are lots of modules that depends on Vue 2. So short answer is Vue Storefront is already upgraded to Vue 3 and Next 3 for quite a long time, actually. But we know that there's a lot of questions out there, not just about Vue Storefront, because it's heavily dependent on Vue 2 and Next 2, right? So people are trying to figure out how they can migrate to Next 3 and Vue 3. So maybe Filip can give a lot of, and maybe not a lot, but the brief idea, because the topic is very long and probably we should have a separate webinar just on that.
Well, I can give a lot, and maybe not now, but if you're actually interested about having such webinar, maybe leave a comment on YouTube or on LinkedIn or anywhere else so we are aware. I would be super happy to do that. There is already an article tackling the problem from quite high-level perspective, because there's so many moving parts around that. But if you would like to have a Q&A session to just dig deep into that topic and learn how to migrate each of the parts, well, I would love to talk about that. But long story short, as Patrick said, we already support Next 3, and even our Next boilerplates are on the Next 3. So, and as you said, like, you upgraded on your own, you probably picked the boilerplate, and there are few components in this migration. So one of them is Vue Storefront itself, and the reality is, like, if you want to migrate Vue Storefront, the middleware, it is completely decoupled from the front end, so middleware works as it used to work. The connection to Vue Storefront middleware from the storefront, it used to be through a Next module. Right now, it is through front-end agnostic SDK. So we are just replacing Next module with the agnostic SDK, and that's basically covering it. Though, as you correctly observed from the question, there are a lot of Next.js modules that are not maintained by Vue Storefront, and they're maintained by some third-party open source maintainers that are still on Next, that are still supporting only Vue 2 and Next 2. And unfortunately, there's not much we can do about that. Like, all the core modules, like internationalization, PWA, this sort of things, they already have their equivalents for Next 3. So you just have to migrate each of those modules one by one. Some of them are super straightforward to migrate. Some of them have a migration guide that requires some manual steps. It is not super straightforward process, but at the same time, what we know from the Next team is Next 3, Next 2, Next 3 migration is the biggest migration that happened ever. Like Next 3, Next 4, Next 4, Next 5. This will be super straightforward to migrate, and it won't be a rewrite. It will be just a small version upgrade that can be probably performed within a day or two. Yeah, so that would be it about that. And again, like, if you're interested about more content on that, either a video content or like a written content about how to migrate from Next 2 to Next 3 in a context of Vue Storefront, just let us know.
Perfect, thank you. So another one, today I got surprised to see the headline VSF is now Alokai. What I mean by this, I could not figure out what's going on, what is going to change, what about the people working with Vue Storefront code? Is it going to change the code? Please someone tell me about this. So I think you covered that at the very beginning, that absolutely nothing is changing in the code, and that's not going to be affected by the change of the name, right? Okay. So if you didn't listen, Filip covered that part at the very beginning. So yeah.
If there will be some changes, we'll be informed about them, and like believe me, like they won't be breaking. Like we'll try to keep the old and new versions and just give you a proper warnings in the code. Again, like stability is the priority. We know these things are not easy. Right now, everything just works as it used to.
Exactly. So the next one, is there any concrete plan for open source community this year? So I think the question is if we are planning to organize an event for the community members. For those of you that are following us for quite some time, we had a very big Vue Storefront Summit in 2021 around April. So for sure, it's not something we're gonna do in April, but that's something we can think of for sure, but not something we planned for this year yet. So if anything, that's probably gonna be in the fall.
Yeah, and also regarding the product itself, you probably noticed that we changed a little bit the way how we are working with the integration. So right now we as Alokai, we're just delivering a building block. So we deliver like a storefront boilerplate, we deliver middleware, we deliver storefront UI, and we're not maintaining or building any integrations on our own for open source. Like we have an enterprise offering where we do that for certain enterprise platforms, and this is part of our enterprise license. For the open source, we're just providing the building blocks, but we are still cooperating with a lot of agencies and individual contributors on building different open source integrations. And I won't be spoiling everything, but we have 3 new ones in the making. Also the old ones, like they're all adjusting to the SDK architecture as we speak. I think Odoo already did. We're already having Cilius integration in beta that will hopefully become an official headless storefront for Cilius. So a lot of exciting things on that front. But I think an important message is that, you know, we don't want to split our focus too much. We just want to focus on delivering the best possible core and let the community and our cooperation with the community to increase the number of integrations and release new things on that end.
Okay. When will Nuxt3 boilerplate become available? So it is available. I'm wondering if we are hiding this so well that people can find it of what's happening, because it's been available for many months now. So maybe we're gonna send a link to all of you with the follow-up, like where to find the details.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. But if you Google just Vue Storefront Nuxt3 boilerplate, you will find it as a first result. I just checked in the incognito mode. So that's probably the easiest way. We have exactly the same one for Next.js as well, which is basically a naked storefront only with the UI, with SDK, with middleware, but without any integration. So it's up to your choice what you're going to plug in. Then you obviously have to build a little bit on top, but the baseline is there. And I see another question. Can someone create a Magento 2 branch on the Nuxt3 boilerplate? So like the Nuxt boilerplate, it is supposed to be agnostic. What someone can do, and I strongly encourage to do this, like if we have someone in the community or out there who is interested in building and maintaining a Magento specific storefront based on that, please just let us know, and we would love to cooperate. But as I said, like right now we are focusing on delivering like those building blocks only, and if there is supposed to be any kind of open source integration, this has to be a cooperation with someone.
Okay, I can see some more questions coming on. Are there plans to improve Nuxt-free boilerplate or the Storefront UI package? A lot of questions about Nuxt-free.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by that, by improving. Like right now, I would say it is covering most of the use cases. Like we're obviously maintaining both things. Like there are even some new components coming here and there, but I would consider it done. Like if there will be any improvements, like we're doing those improvements along with the improvements of other parts of the products. For example, we recently released our Next and Next modules, which hit a lot of implementation details, so the updates are easier. We updated that in the boilerplate. Whenever there is a new version of SDK or middleware or Storefront UI, we're updating this in the boilerplate. But our goal with the boilerplate was to just give you a good starting point and a coverage of all the standard pages. And I think this goal is already fulfilled. Though, if you have any ideas for what is missing, you can let us know. I know that, for example, Plenty Markets, one of the open source partners who build their integration, they saw that we are missing a wish list and they decided to contribute it. So we're welcoming all kinds of contributions. We're reviewing the PRs. We are open to collaborate on that. We're also open just for suggestions, like what do you think is still considered a baseline, but it's missing in there. Also, when it comes to Storefront UI, one thing I forgot, like we recently released a quick integration that was built by our community, Georgia Boa. Georgia, if you're watching this, you're great. So you can also check that out. Quick is a really cool framework.
Yeah, and there was again something around the boilerplate, so it would be nice to have a bit more fleshed out boilerplate indeed, right? That's related to question 9 when someone asked about the Magento 2 branch on the Nuxt-free boilerplate.
Yeah. Again, like if anyone is willing to collaborate on that, let us know. We'd love to.
Yeah, and there is also a question that I don't fully understand. There was like React Next or Vue Next, but
I think I know what kind of question it is, and I would be politically correct and say like both are great.
Yes.
And like the reality is like depending on what you're using and what you know, there's probably either one of those better for you. Like both are established frameworks, both have great developer experience, both have great communities. And right now, I think, like switching to React if you already know Vue, or switching to Vue if you already know React and are familiar with that, I don't think that makes a lot of sense as long as you're happy with those. Like both are great frameworks. Maybe that discussion made sense 5 years ago, but not after so many years of development of all the front-end frameworks. The reality is they're all very similar, especially the old generation of them. The new generation, like Quick, for example, like Solid.js, it is slightly different. But when you're talking about the established ones, like honestly, from my perspective, both choices are valid and good.
Yeah,
wow, it was very developer focused.
I don't see any other questions incoming. So if there are any more, let's wait 1-2 minutes. Please ask, and then we can answer.
Guys, if you have any questions about the product that we're building, rebranding, even some thoughts about composable commerce or headless commerce, like we can actually talk for ages about that. I think that's the right time. And honestly, we would love to expand on any of those topics if you find them interesting. And also, if you missed that, on our YouTube channel, there is around 1 hour podcast, like video podcast, where both myself and Patrick, we discuss the rebranding, we discuss the history of the company. There are some things that I'm quite sure you're unaware of, quite interesting ones. But we're also discussing the current e-commerce landscape, what we believe is the future of e-commerce, what we believe a product like ours should look like. We're quite deep, I would say, in the current e-commerce landscape, and we have a lot of thoughts about that, and we're sharing a lot of them in that podcast.
Yeah, so in the meantime, we did get some more questions. So the first one is, does Alokai goes well with Contentful? And the answer is yes. It's one of our very first CMS integrations, and we had a lot of focus on it, but we also integrate with other CMSs. But yes, Contentful is there. So if you are interested to see how it works, please let us know. Will there be a next boilerplate version for Magento? So people want React.
My question is exactly the same as previous one. Like, if there is anyone willing to build it, we would love to collaborate. But until then, like, if you would like to use our Magento integration together with Next.js, like, you have all the pieces available. You just need to glue them together and replace the mocked parts of the storefront with the actual code coming from the integration.
So the next question, development of Alokai will support both React, Vue in the future in the same pace. So yes, that's exactly what we do. So every time we are adding a new integration, we are usually starting with a React version first, simply because we see a lot of demand for that. And like 70–80% of the customers are usually looking at React. And once our React is done, in the meantime, there is a Vue version under the development, but it's usually like 3–4 weeks behind. So any challenges we see on the React version, we have enough time to resolve it. So then we don't have to resolve it on Vue, right? It's going very well in parallel, making our development much faster. Because if we were developing both Vue and React at the same pace, we would be just looking and getting blocked by the same challenge. But in general, yes. Plus, as Filip mentioned, and because of our SDKs, we are allowing any other JavaScript framework. No one knows for how much longer React and Vue will be like the top two most important and top two priorities for the companies. Filip mentioned Quick, and there is other great JavaScript frameworks that are coming out and getting a great traction. So maybe a year or two from now, we're going to be using something completely different, simply because of outstanding performance benefits for the e-commerce space. Yeah, Filip, anything to add?
No, I think you covered that. And also, like, a little bit about that part. There is Quick. We also see very interesting developments from Angular, actually. So those who are not catching up, like, Angular is cool again. Like, it's got the same performance improvements that Quick has. So the landscape is changing very fast. There are new frameworks like Solid.js. There are new meta frameworks like Astro. There are existing frameworks that are well established. There are old established frameworks that are gaining new traction. So what we really want to be sure of is that whatever happens, we are prepared for that, and that our tools are as least tied to the frameworks as possible. So really only the Storefront UI and the Storefront itself, these are the only things that we are releasing that are framework specific, but everything else, like all the integrations, integration layer, UniFi data layer, our infrastructure, analytics, like all of that is completely independent from any framework. And also the architecture that we're building everything on. Also the Storefront one, it can be easily replicated in any kind of framework very easily. Like these days, again, like they're super similar.
Another one, what search integrations do you suggest? So it's very difficult for us to judge which search itself will be the best for you. As for the integration, we cover multiple search integrations, right? So when you think of SAP itself, that would be Coveo, that we have a very big focus on integrating with, and that also comes in, I call it the package with Contentful. Both Coveo and Contentful are endorsed partners of SAP. So as simply as that, we work very closely with them, and those integrations are very well defined, because the endorsed level requires a much more in-depth technical check from SAP of those integrations, right? So that's something we cover quite heavily there. For commerce tools, big commerce, there is Algolia, Constructor. We also work with Klebu. And then, of course, we have Bloomreach. And the thing about Bloomreach is that it's not only for the search itself, but there is also personalization piece to it and the content management. So we integrate with all of the elements and the features that Bloomreach has. So many customers like the fact that it's all connected together, and they can cover the customer experience from that aspect. But on the end, it really goes down to your preferences and what are your business requirements. And that's how you should be checking out which search will be the best for you. Are there any recommendation engine integrations for Alokai? So as I mentioned, Bloomreach, right? Because when I think of recommendations, it's usually search connected with personalization. A lot of search tools right now have fantastic recommendation engines, and most of them are releasing that as part of the involvement of the product. So I think pretty much everything that I mentioned as part of the search have some kind of recommendation. But again, for us, it's hard to judge, right? We are not experts in figuring out the best features and which partners are the best for the certain things. It's up to the customers to decide. What we focus on is to make sure that our integrations are super easy, and you can actually use it out of the box right away. So you focus on the business value and requirements on that side. You don't have to focus that much on the tech side.
Yeah, and that's also, our new identity. Like Alokai means conductor, but it also means to guide. And our goal is to help our customers and everyone pick the best things that fit their needs the most. The reality is, like, we're having hundreds or thousands of vendors of each category. Each of them are good for specific use cases. And we're not only providing everything that is allowing you to connect that, and like a very stable and future-proof architecture, but we are also helping to choose, the best tools for the job.
Yep. Cool. So we don't see any more questions. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. If you will have any questions that you didn't ask now, but you would like to know, or as I mentioned before, there were people asking about how can I migrate from the existing backend to something else, and you want to try it out, just contact us. You can come directly to me or Filip via LinkedIn, or you can contact us for our website, and we will make sure that you can check out what we've built and how this can help your business.
Yeah, and thanks so much for being here, because I saw a lot of people who are with us for literally years, or some of our open source partners, some of our enterprise partners in the chat asking questions or cheering for us. So thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for supporting us in this journey. It's been a long ride, but we're absolutely super excited about the future because we see more and more relevance for the value we deliver and the story that we are telling. And well, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.